Welcome back to Legal Livewire. Today we have an important update.
Mr. Allen.
Excuse me. Search and seizure, including any interviews, any evidence that was obtained, and anything that was subsequent to the arrest as well. Your Honor, I believe in this case that you're going to find that this is an individual who was shopping, got into a vehicle, got out of a vehicle, and that's certainly not any basis that somebody should be subject to being stopped, being searched, being seized, without any indication whatsoever that my client was engaged in any criminal activity. You may hear evidence that the individual who was in or otherwise owned the vehicle she got into was part of a criminal investigation, but that has nothing to do with my client. My client was an unknown individual who wasn't observed committing any crime or doing anything which would give any rise to any reasonable suspicion. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Before I call our witness, I would like to note that I have given all discovery in this case. I believe defense is in receipt of all discovery, so this is now the only issues for this suppression. There will be no further information that could expand it. Thank you. I'd call Lieutenant Brad Kemp.
You raise your right hand, please. You swear testimony about gives the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right, have a seat. Try to stay close to that mic, okay?
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Brad Kemp, K-E-M-P,
Where are you employed?
Lake County Narcotics Agency,
What's your position there?
Lieutenant,
How many years have you worked at the Lake County Narcotics Agency?
29 and a half years.
Could you please describe from the start of your career what position you held there and your job duties, and then what brought you to your position as lieutenant today?
Well, prior to Lake County, I did work for West Shore Enforcement Bureau, which is another drug unit in the west side of Cleveland, and where I worked for 2.5 years approximately there doing the narcotic stuff. Then in 95, I went to Lake County Narcotics, where I started as an agent, and they employed me in both those, in my job there, to do mostly undercover work. And so I did a lot of controlled buys for Lake County, and about 5 years later, I wound up becoming a sergeant, and for probably over 20 years as a sergeant, and then 3 years as a lieutenant.
When you started your career doing the controlled buys, were you the undercover?
Yeah, direct buys. I was doing mostly undercover work for both the West Shore Enforcement Bureau and also for Lake County Narcotics.
And approximately how many of those buys were you or the undercover?
Hundreds.
Agent? And then as a sergeant, did you carry a more supervisory role with the controlled buys?
Yes, I've done supervision as far as that goes for over 20 plus years.
And approximately how many controlled buys did you supervise?
Over 6,000.
And in those controlled buys, have you worked with other agencies in their investigations?
Yes.
And did those include state and federal agencies?
Yes.
And our local agencies in this county as well?
Yes.
Do you also have college education that is pertinent to this field that you're in?
Yes.
Could you describe that?
I have an associate's degree in security administration, law enforcement from Tri-C, and I got a bachelor's and a master's degree from University of Akron in technical education, where I use that to do advanced training for police officers throughout the state, as well as teach some college accredited courses part-time in criminal justice.
Have you also been an instructor at the Peace Officer Training Academy?
Yeah, for about 10 to 11 years, I taught for the Ohio Peace Officers Training Academy, where I instructed over 1,000 police officers in my topic area of drug investigations, where I taught classes such as street drugs, methamphetamine investigations, how to do controlled and direct buys. interviews, techniques. I don't know if I said confidential informants, but that too. And other things that are related to how we do our drug investigations.
Have you received certification from the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration for clandestine laboratory?
Yes, for probably since 2002 to current, I've done most of the investigations, probably over 95% of all investigations in Lake County regarding clandestine meth labs and taking down meth labs. And it kind of gave me another expertise area.
Have you written reports as an expert in drug trafficking?
Yes.
Approximately how many reports have you written?
So in over 20 years that they've had me called upon me as an expert witness for Lake County, I've done over 50 reports, and I've testified approximately 20 times as an expert in this county through various courts.
And in those cases, you were not necessarily involved in the investigation of trafficking, but you were able to opine as to whether trafficking had occurred?
Yes, yes, they've testified to both possession cases and trafficking cases.
How would you describe your responsibilities as a lieutenant?
Basically, I still oversee the team directly, but the only additional thing that I do primarily is I do evidence. That's my only new additional role. So I basically maintain and control all evidence that we do at our agency.
I direct your attention to August 2nd of 2023. On that day, were you assisting a Special Agent 95 in the investigation of a Brianna McNamee?
Yes.
What was your role in that investigation?
Surveillance detail.
And what does that mean? What would you have to do?
Surveillance detail is where I'm normally by myself in my vehicle, and we all communicate through radio. And we also use body wires with informants. So I always have access to listen into a controlled buy, as well as if we video record it, which generally we do, I also have the ability to observe that transaction. And during that period of time, I just was in the area to observe the drug transaction and to be in that area.
And was that did that investigation involve a controlled buy?
Yes.
Could you explain how the controlled buys are organized and conducted by Lake County narcotics agencies?
Normally 2 agents, one's a witness, one's the primary agent, would meet with the confidential informant. The informant would be searched before and after a drug deal. If they had a vehicle, that vehicle would be searched before and after a drug deal. Sometimes agents have to drive, in kind of a minor undercover role, suspects to do a controlled buy. But that CI is searched, like I said, and given a body transmitter, and they're given money through LCNA, and then they pre-record phone calls or texts made from the CI to the drug dealer. They always usually pick a spot or a location where to meet, and they also text what quantities that they plan on purchasing, what type of drug, and then those things occur, and the drug buy is made where there's an exchange for money and drugs, and they both depart their ways.
And so the location and the drugs that are purchased are determined between the confidential informant and the drug dealer.
Correct, but it has to be cleared through the agent that's in charge too, because we also want to have a little say-so on how a drug transaction take place, mostly for officer safety and safety of the informants.
And then while the drug buy is occurring, are you able to see and hear what is going on through devices that the confidential informant is equipped with?
Correct.
And are you able to see and hear that live?
As long as the confidential informant manipulates it properly, yes. But you at least hear it live.
And then how soon after the drug deal do you and the supervisory role or other investigators come back to the confidential informant and see if drugs were purchased?
Immediately. At some point, like they'd have to, maybe say they have to drive a mile down the street, but they're always observed and witnessed by the agents that are involved. That's part of the surveillance team. So the informants are never not managed.
Could you describe the investigation or the controlled buy that occurred with Brianna McNamee on August 2nd?
Yes, I think Special Agent 95 had a confidential informant, and that informant could purchase drugs from Brianna McNamee. And they agreed to make a transaction at the Target, which was located at 91 in Euclid Avenue in the city of Willoughby. The informant agreed with McNamee to purchase 3 8-balls, which are 1/8 ounce of drugs, or 3.5 grams.
What drugs?
They planned on purchasing crack cocaine, methamphetamine, and heroin for a total amount of $400.
And were you a part of that portion of the controlled buy?
Yes, myself and other agents were involved with that buy and observed that taking place in the parking lot of the Target Plaza.
Were you able to, as you described earlier, see and hear the drug deal as it was occurring?
Yes,
Were you aware if Brianna McNamee before that date was involved in drug trafficking?
yes.
Could you describe briefly at that point what, if anything, you knew, well, as you stated you did, what you knew of her involvement in drug trafficking?
Our agency did an investigation, I'm just going to guesstimate, about 6 months prior, in the city of Eastlake, where Brianna McNamee was involved with another person, or persons, and they were involved with trafficking in drugs, and which led to a search warrant to a house in Eastlake where Brianna McNamee was involved, and we had charges on her for trafficking in drugs. So prior to that purchase at the Target, we knew of who she was.
And after seeing and hearing the drug deal with the confidential informant on August 2nd, 6 months later, were you able to confirm that she did indeed sell drugs?
Yes, because the informant basically said that he was to meet a female known as Bree, or Brianna, and so we kind of pieced it together because that wasn't a very common name, and he described Brianna McNamee.
What did you do after the controlled buy was completed?
Myself and Special Agent 22, which is Director Pat Hanks, decided we're going to follow Brianna McNamee because we were just curious if she was going to meet with somebody else. Because we knew she resided in Cuyahoga County, and that was the information that we had, but we really didn't know what she was doing. So we had nothing better to do, so we decided to follow her to see if she was going to meet with someone else.
Where did she go?
So we followed her directly, never lost sight of her, and we followed her to the Shoregate Plaza, where she parked in about 3 rows in front of the dollar store in the Shoregate Plaza.
The drug deal with the controlled buy, you said it happened at the Target in Willoughby, is that right?
Correct.
Did it happen in the parking lot as well?
Yes.
Did the Brianna McNamee, or as you knew her, Bree, ever leave her vehicle for that drug deal?
No. Then when we did that drug deal, the confidential informant exited Special Agent 95's vehicle, walked over to Brianna McNamee's vehicle, and got in the front passenger seat of that vehicle. And they conducted a transaction, which took approximately 4 minutes, and then they departed ways.
The confidential informant went back into their
Special
vehicle?
Agent 95's car and gave the drugs directly, in this case, to Special Agent 95 right in the vehicle. So there was really no delay of the purchase.
And then you testified you started following Bree, or later known to you, Brianna McNamee, the drug dealer, to another parking lot.
Correct. Well, we didn't know where she was going to go, but that's where she did go.
What did you observe then?
Once we got to that parking lot, she was parked, like I say, 3 spaces, 3 rows in front of the store facing westbound.
What store was she parked in front of?
Dollar General in the
And then
Shoregate Plaza.
in Willowick?
Willowick. So I was probably, I want to say 3 or 4 rows in front of her, so I had a clear view of her car and her passenger door.
How are your cars facing each other?
facing each other.
Okay, so the front of your vehicle is facing the front of her vehicle?
Yes, but I was kind of off to an angle. I wasn't directly in front of her, but I had clear view with no other vehicles be in my way to see. And Pat Hanks also had a very good view where he was located, so he had that vehicle pretty well observed.
And how long was she in that parking lot before anything else happened?
She sat in the car for 15 minutes, and that gave us an indication that she may be meeting somebody.
Why did you think she was meeting someone?
Because she didn't leave the car. And because we just left a prior drug deal where drugs were delivered, we believe that that was what she was going to do this time around also.
So based on your prior observations, you believe that she was about to do another drug deal? Is that right?
Correct.
What about based on your experience, your 6,000 control buys and hundreds of other buys?
That's, again, another part of the reason why we felt that that's what she was going to do. Because if she was going to the store, she would have got out and went into the store. But she didn't. She sat in her car stationary and would not leave the front seat of the vehicle. And for an extended period of time, we felt she was probably going to either sell to somebody or actually pick up from somebody. We did not know what her true role was while she was sitting there. But we believed she was going to meet somebody.
What happened then?
So about 15 minutes passed, and then I observed a white female exit Dollar General and carrying a yellow bag from Dollar General and get into the front passenger seat of the Hyundai that Brandon McNamee was driving.
What happened then?
And they sat in the vehicle for about 15 minutes, and the white female then exited the vehicle, got into a vehicle that was parked a space or two next to Brandon McNamee, which was a black Fusion. And prior to that, because of that interaction, Pat Hanks contacted Willowwick Police Department and obtained a patrol vehicle to assist in a traffic stop for potential drug deal.
At what point was Willowwick contacted to potentially assist?
As soon as we knew that there was a meeting between the female and the other female, McNamee and the unknown female at the time.
Is that because at that point it had confirmed that there was a drug deal occurring?
Yes, so we believed that something was going on, and that what made us believe that there was a reason there was going to be a drug deal.
When you say something was going on, what did you think was going on?
A drug deal.
And what happened then?
Then, like I said, the female then got out of the vehicle, the passenger side with the bag, got in the black Fusion, and drove off the lot. We followed right behind her at a distance, and we called out the location, whereas Brian O'Toole from Willowwick Police Department initiated a traffic stop right off Bar Jody behind Rite Aid, and the vehicle pulled in the back parking lot of Rite Aid, and myself and Pat Hanks also were on scene at the time of the traffic stop.
Was Patrolman O'Toole in a marked cruiser and wearing a uniform?
Yes.
Were you and Director Hanks in uniforms or marked cruisers?
We're all in plainclothes and plainclothes vehicles.
So why was the decision made to have Patrolman O'Toole in the marked cruiser pull over?
Because it's a clear identification of a police officer. That's predominantly why we do that. And sometimes we also use that when we pull cars over more as a ruse, because of, not giving them the reason how we found out a drug deal took place. We don't throw our cards all down on the table right away.
Why were you pulling over the vehicle?
Because we believe the drug transaction took place between Brandon McNamee and this female.
Did you believe that that female would have drugs in her vehicle?
Yes.
And were you right behind Patrolman O'Toole as he conducted that traffic stop?
We were within seconds pulling in behind Patrolman O'Toole.
And then, and what did you do after you came upon the actual stop?
And Officer O'Toole basically talked with the female. Myself and Pat Hanks went up and started searching the vehicle because we believe a drug transaction took place. And I found a plastic bag in the front passenger seat, and that contained items purchased from the dollar store.
Was it a Dollar General store bag?
Yes. And inside the bag was a mitt that was something that was just purchased. Inside that mitt was a plastic bag. It contained approximately 4 ounces of methamphetamine.
What did you do then?
Then we went back and I showed the drugs to the female, and she said it wasn't hers. And then at some point, and I can't remember if it was before I showed her the bag or before I got to the car, but she mentioned who she was in the vehicle, and her name was Linda Chupa. And she was the only one in the vehicle.
Did that, once you learned that that woman was Linda Chupa, did that have any significance to you?
LCNAs did an investigation on Linda Chupa in the past, and I've had knowledge based upon our experience, because we get complaints from about many people all over this county of their drug involvement, and Linda Chupa was a name that I was familiar with.
About how large was the 4 ounces of drugs that you found?
About that big.
Quantify it. So you've circled, placed your thumbs together and your index fingers together to form a
3 or
circle.
4 inches in diameter.
And that was inside.
A mitt, like a hot stove mitt.
What did you do then?
After that, Ms. Chupa was searched, and she also, inside one of her pockets, had a receipt from the Dollar General for the items that were actually purchased from the Dollar General. So the methamphetamine was collected as evidence, the receipt that was on Linda Chupa was collected as evidence, and I kept the bag with all the mitts as evidence just in case there was a trial. And so I kept all that.
And was she placed under arrest?
Yes, and then she was taken to the Wilwick Police Department to be interviewed by myself, and Special Agent 95 assisted me at that time. That was about an hour later.
And how did you conduct the interview? Who did
Well,
you start with?
my interviews, I do the same with everybody. So we do what's called personal history, which is just general information about who you are, where you live, just general information about themselves. And then I read them their rights based on a form that LCNA uses. And then they have to sign it, date it, and time it. And I also I had Wilwick record that interview from start to finish.
And after the personal history questions, did you give Ms. Chupa her Miranda warnings?
After I did the personal history, I did give Linda Chupa her Miranda warning.
And
And
then-
it's a documented form also, which she would sign.
And then, did you then proceed to ask her questions in regards to what was found in the vehicle?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach the computer? I'm going to label this as state secret while you don't have it stick on mine. And I'm playing the fourth file, the disc. Lieutenant Kemp started playing the disc that's marked as State's Exhibit 1. On the monitor, do you recognize the beginning of the fourth clip here?
That's the room where we did the interview.
That was on August 2nd, 2023,
Yes.
and that's Linda Chupa.
Yes.
And you said there was quite a bit of time where she was alone in the room?
Yes, whenever Wilwick put her in there and she sat till we were ready.
And she's not handcuffed. She's relaxed, her leg is up on the chair, correct?
Yes. I think she had an injury and she had some kind of cast or some kind of brace on her leg, if I remember correctly, and I can see it.
And you allowed her to lift her leg?
Oh, yes.
I'm gonna fast forward this, like, come to about 17 minutes and 15 seconds. And is this when you, as Special Agent 95, entered the room?
Yes.
I'm gonna play from here at 17 minutes and 16 seconds.
Hopefully. You can keep your right mic off. You sure? Alright, so let me start at the beginning.
Yeah,
Alright, so my name's Brad, I'm a lieutenant lieutenant Cox.
I've seen you around.
Yeah, so most people know me in some way, shape, or
I
form.
mean, I don't personally, but.
Not personally, but you probably heard of me before, you know. Maybe not. I don't know. I did a lot of meditation.
Hold on a
for
minute.
years. So anyway, I'm gonna do what's called personal history. All that is just general information.
See all the way up, Judge, unless, let me see.
You can go past 100, it looks like, on the bottom right.
I will try it now.
Who you are, where you live, just general information.
Sounds like it's only playing from there. Sure.
By yourself. So, first name's Linda. What's your middle initial?
Okay,
Cheppa, C-H-E-P-P-A.
yeah.
Two P's. Any nicknames or street names? No. No one knows, no nicknames at all.
No.
Sure, date of birth.
11/22/82.
11/22/82.
Yeah.
Social,
281
281
82
82
6570.
6570. You got a cell phone?
440 902 0163.
0163. Do you have another one or just one? There's two phones found in the car.
Yeah, one's off.
Okay.
I can play that for music.
You have a home phone number? I'm asking you to use that, the cell phone.
Also 3 numbers in the past like 5 months.
What's your current address for each state?
6657 Lake Road.
How long you lived there?
12 years.
Where'd you live before, you remember? Address? Huh?
Painesville.
You know the address?
213 Brentwood Drive.
What number?
213.
173? How long you live there?
10 years.
Did you move in when you were brand new?
Yeah. Oh, they weren't brand new, but.
Well, I mean, it's certain section, yeah, that kind of thing, you know. How tall are you?
5'3".
You're ready.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, Trace can clear away.
Well, let's take it with 150 for my weight.
Your color?
Purple. Yeah, literally it's brown.
Yeah, we're going natural. I can't tell. Eyes,
Brown.
glasses, you run around with glasses?
Not that what I mean.
Brown, like this.
More important.
Yeah, we do wear glasses?
Yeah, I don't really.
You want the trash can, sir?
I'm not comfortable.
You know your driver's license number?
RW754. No,
I don't know mine, so I don't know.
749 I want to say, but I think you need the wrong one.
You have 2,000 tattoos, right?
Yeah.
Just numerous tattoos and they come out there. Any scar or anything?
No, scar on my back.
Like a noticeable one or just a little tiny thing?
I think that they.
Don't say scar, but. Married, single, divorced, what?
Single.
How many kids do you have?
5.
And your boyfriend? None? Okay, so 5 kids. First and last names, please, and age.
Okay, Anthony. Martin,
Last name Martin?
yeah,
How old?
24.
Okay.
Tyler,
Last name?
Kane,
C-A-K-A-N-E?
K, yeah,
How old?
24.
Okay. The twins?
Which one's next?
Mom's twins.
Jasmine,
Okay.
Martin, 21. Payton,
What?
Payton,
Peyton?
P-A-Y-T-O-N,
Okay.
Kane,
How old?
18.
That's it?
And one more,
Okay.
Deja, B-A-Z-I-A,
D, what?
A,
A,
Z,
Z,
I,
A.
I-A,
Last name?
2 more,
How old?
17.
Your father's first name?
Joseph,
Last name?
2 more.
Is he still alive?
Yeah.
Mother? How's your dad?
Oh, we just 60. We just celebrated
60?
6 years.
Mother?
Her name?
Yes.
Gail.
Gail? Last name?
I think it might still be Correo. I don't know.
Correo?
C-O-R-A-O. C-O-R-R-A-O?
Alright, that sounds right. How old is she?
And he was born in 65, I believe.
Should be 58, roughly. Go with that, right?
We'll go with that out.
Close enough, she's 165. Brothers, do you have any brothers? Sisters? How many? What's her name?
Susan,
Last name?
2
How old is she?
34?
That's fine. Where she live around here?
She lives in Leonard.
What's she do?
First Taco Bell.
Married or anything, or no?
Going through a divorce.
Yeah. Past drug use, you have DUs, and what drugs have you been using other than those one time? We'll start simple. You use weed,
Okay.
coke, crack,
No.
meth,
Weed. Meth.
weed, cocaine,
I don't drink no more.
meth. You ever use LSD? Try it?
No.
Shrooms?
Well, when I was 15.
Yeah, that's fine. Shrooms, you ever try that? Any perks or fentanyl or that shit?
Percocets.
Ones you're not supposed to use though.
Well, no, I was prescribed them.
Okay.
And now, no.
Okay, anything else besides that? That's pretty much it. In the last 6 months, Clifford, what drug were you using? No? What drugs were you using?
6 months?
Yeah,
Weed and meth.
okay. You working around?
Just cleaning out houses.
Is that a job or is that just a side thing? Are you employed? Is it your business?
I'm not on paper.
Now it's called, clean houses,
Clean out houses.
or you clean out houses?
Yeah.
Clean, you like sell it afterwards?
Like when if they get.
Yeah, you find the biggest thing, yeah.
Oh, you get a bunch of stuff.
I bet you do. Self-employed will do that. High school you complete in school?
From college.
Like freshman, sophomore, when you help, for 1 year, 2 years of college, what?
2.
Where? Lakeland?
Yeah. Oh.
What were you going for?
Criminal justice.
Yeah, what happened?
My
kids were.
My kid was getting in a bunch of trouble and I fell behind and I gave up.
Alright, and then, where'd you graduate from?
I got my GED.
Where?
Painful.
Like in jails?
No.
during the meeting? Just
No,
asking.
just, people, they have like a, place to go to, take them.
That's fine.
I mean, that was part of it, I don't remember.
You own a car?
No,
Ever been in the military?
no,
Ever been arrested before?
yeah.
What's the worst thing you've been arrested for?
The worst or the stupidest?
No, worst. We'll talk about stupid.
And, I don't know, aggravated possession, or
How
domestic, I don't know which one.
much aggravated possession, how much did you have?
I had 10 ecstasy pills and 1.9 of that.
1.9 ounces?
No, 1.9
Grams?
grams.
Man, that's not enough. All right. I'll just write C leads. We need a running record anyway. How's that?
It's all on Google. Google my name, you'll hear it all.
All right. Please this all right. Read my crappy handwriting. Everything's correct about who you are, where you live, and your own information by yourself. I'll need your signature here, and all your signatures there. And tell me it's true. Okay, thank you. Yep, next thing, I'm gonna read your race real fast. If I ask you something you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer it. And then we'll go one step at a time. All right, you have the right to remain silent, you understand that? Anything you say can be used against you in court, you understand that? You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions, and have him with you during questions, you understand that? If you're not a court order, we'll appoint you for questioning if you wish, do you understand that? You decide to answer questions now without order, President still has the right to stop answering questions at any time until you talk to the lawyer, do you understand that? If I ask you something you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer it. You're going to read, correct?
Yeah.
So what I'd like you to do is read each line for your initials next to each line that you understand it, print your name, sign your name, or sign the words you write so you understand them.
Oh, shit.
No, it's okay. You can just print it. Fantastic.
Sorry,
Obviously, you don't print much, do you?
I don't.
Well,
Not
when you finish the chief, or is that the cheaper signature? The script? That's okay.
We'll start the video at 28 minutes and 54 seconds on the player. Lieutenant Kemp, remaining was marked as State's Exhibit 2. Do you know what that is?
This is the LCNA Miranda warning form that our agency uses.
And is it signed?
Yes,
Who is it signed by?
Linda Chupa.
Is that a copy of what we saw Chupa sign in the video there?
Yes,
Is that a fair and accurate copy?
yes,
And the video of the interview that we just watched, is that a fair and accurate copy of a video recording of the interview you conducted?
yes.
And for the record, Your Honor, when I did hand this to Mr. Levy, he stated he would stipulate to State's Exhibit 2.
We'd stipulate, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Lieutenant Kemp, would you say that those questions are the equivalent to booking questions?
We don't book, but it's just general information about who people are. I guess you would say there are booking questions.
You don't book, but are they similar to questions that you, in your experience, have seen to be booking questions when someone is being booked?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Salibi?
Good morning, Lieutenant Kemp.
How are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Good.
My name is Eric Levy. I just have a couple of questions for you. Drawing your attention back to August 22nd of 2023. To your testimony that after
Hold
witnessing
on,
a controlled...
you said 22nd, you mean second? You said 20.
August 2nd, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Yes, thank you, Your Honor. It was your testimony that after witnessing a controlled buy involving a Brianna McNamee, that you then followed to another parking lot at the Dollar General, correct?
Yeah, I followed Brianna McNamee to another parking lot, yes,
And you witness an unknown female exit the Dollar General?
yes,
And that individual's holding a bag from the Dollar General, correct?
correct,
Okay, and that individual then gets into Brianna McNamee's vehicle, correct?
past front passenger seat, yes,
Thank you. At that point, you would agree with me that the next thing that you witness is that individual exiting the passenger seat of Brianna McNamee's vehicle, correct?
correct,
All right, you don't see anything that takes place inside the vehicle, correct?
no,
No movements,
no,
no passing of any items?
no,
Okay. And that individual exits Brianna McNamee's vehicle holding the same Dollar General bag, correct?
yes,
So you would agree with me that anything that happened inside the vehicle, legal, illegal, or whatever, on your part would have just been a guess, correct?
it's, I guess you'd say, I won't say it was a educated guess.
It was a hunch.
It's more than a hunch.
I understand that you have training and experiences, as you testified to earlier, but you don't actually witness anything that happened in the vehicle, correct? As we said.
I could not physically see inside the vehicle, no.
Okay. So that unknown individual who got in the vehicle could have been merely engaging in a conversation for all that you knew.
I find it less likely based on that circumstance.
So well, there certainly could have been a drug transaction in the vehicle, correct?
Yes,
And there certainly could have just been any number of matters of legal activity in the vehicle based on what you witnessed, correct?
people meet for a lot of reasons in parking lots.
Sure. You had testified earlier that generally when a controlled buy takes place, that there is a video recording of the controlled buy, correct?
It's if we are making the buy and a confidential informant is working directly for us, we try to equip our informants with cameras or audio recordings, but that's only if it was controlled by us.
Sure. So there was nothing that was recorded on video regarding the incident outside the Dollar General, correct?
Brianna McNamee was not a confidential informant, so she was just a drug dealer suspect from
Yeah,
a
no,
prior
that's-
investigation.
That's
but
fine.
not
So there was,
a
just yes or no,
confidential-
there was no video recording of the incident outside the Dollar General?
No,
Okay. And you had testified earlier that the controlled buy involving Brianna McNamee, the transaction inside that vehicle took approximately 4 minutes.
correct,
And you then also testified that when the unknown female was inside the vehicle with Brianna McNamee at the Dollar General, that meeting took approximately 15 minutes.
correct,
And then that unknown individual was pulled over, correct?
correct.
And pulled into a Rite Aid parking lot, correct?
Pulled over into the Rite Aid parking lot, yes.
Okay. And she wasn't pulled over for a traffic infraction, correct?
No,
Okay. Nothing based on that. Anything further?
All right, Ms. Gretzky, any redirect?
Yes, please. Just want to be clear, you were not able to see the hands of Brianna McNamee and Ms. Chupa in the vehicle?
no,
Was the fact that you were not able to see their hands a fact that negated your suspicion that a drug deal was occurring in any way?
it did not negate my beliefs, no.
What about the fact that that the defendant, Ms. Chupa, spent 15 minutes in Brianna McNamee's car? Did that in any way negate your suspicion that a drug deal was occurring?
No.
Why not?
I've done many drug deals myself. They've taken hours and they've taken up to 10 seconds. So depending on the drugs, depending on who you're meeting, depending how many times you have dealt with these people before, all come into play in why a drug deal takes longer or shorter. You know, there's no rule on time.
And what could a longer, say 15 minutes versus a 4-minute interaction mean?
Well, people are friends. Sometimes they're not friends. Sometimes you're trying to feel each other out. You can have conversations about anything. So, there's a lot of variables of why people sit in a car and talk. So, but it does not negate the fact of a transaction taking place. People can be counting money. People could be looking at the drugs. You can be talking about prior deals. You can talk about future deals. You can talk about future, relationships and endeavors. You can be talking about the weather. You can be talking about sports. There's so many different variables of why people communicate. I can't really give you a black and white answer.
Were you able to see the Dollar General bag the entire time that it was in Brianna McNamee's vehicle?
The Dollar General bag went in with Ms. Chupa. It came out with Ms. Chupa. But I never saw the Dollar General bag while Ms. Chupa was in the car. You know what I'm saying? It went in and went out.
Because you couldn't see it?
Because I cannot see inside the car, no.
In your experience, is it common for drug dealers to conduct drug deals in their vehicles?
Drug deals take place in either the suspect's vehicle, meaning the person that's selling the drugs, but sometimes drug deals take place in the buyer's vehicles. Sometimes drug deals take place outside of vehicles. Sometimes drug deals take place inside businesses. There's a lot of variations, but drug deals only take place where the drug dealer chooses that deal to take place. The drug dealer controls the time, the location, and how the drug deal takes place because they're the ones that are in control.
No further questions.
Mr. Levy, recross?
Nothing based on that, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down, thank you. Any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, I just asked to admit States Exhibits 1 and 2.
All right, any objection to 1 or 2?
No objection, Your
All
Honor.
right, they're admitted. Do you have any witnesses, Mr. Levy?
No, Your Honor.
Would you like to further argue?
I'm sorry,
I said, would you like to argue?
briefly.
Okay.
I would
Briefly, famous last words, right?
Go ahead.
Buckle up. No, I'm just kidding.
Be as brief as you want to be, okay?
Thank you.
Or as long as you want to be. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I would again incorporate my response to defendant's motion. We've heard the extensive experience that Lieutenant Kemp has, and we've also heard the direct observations that he was able to make that day that Brianna McNamee was dealing drugs. He followed her from a drug deal to another parking lot based on his experience and observation of her that day, a short time before she was going to be engaged in a drug deal. I believe based on the totality of the circumstances, that he had a reasonable and articulable suspicion that after the defendant entered her vehicle, just like the CI had done short time before, that the defendant walked away with drugs, just like the CI had done, and that the defendant's vehicle could therefore be stopped because she was in possession of drugs. It could be searched because she was in possession of drugs. I have no further cases to cite other than those that are in my motion. And then in regards to Miranda, brief in State v. Jackson, an 11th District case. I'll just note it in case it's not in my motion. I believe it should be 2012-Ohio-2123. On-scene investigative questioning does not trigger the Miranda warnings requirement. Lieutenant Kemp showed the defendant the methamphetamine on the scene. If that is to believe that it was a question or done to invoke a response that was on the scene questioning that did not require Miranda warning. And then further, we have States Exhibit 1 to show the personal history questions through which he did not ask anything about what she was doing that day, anything about whether she knew Brianna McNamee, nothing about the facts in the case. They were, as he stated, who is she, where does she live, some things about her, and then he gave her the Miranda warnings. And I didn't play the interview, but I don't believe it at issue, anything that's after Miranda. However, it is in State's Exhibit 1 if the court would like to review it. So I believe the defendant's motion to suppress should be denied. I believe the case law is in favor of Lieutenant Kemp and Lake County Narcotics Agency's actions in this investigation.
All right, thank you. Mr. Levy.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, I would likewise incorporate my motion to suppress, which I know the court has reviewed at detail. Your Honor, there's no question that a controlled buy took place involving Brianna McNamee. There's no testimony that my client was involved in the controlled buy. In fact, she was an unknown female when they came upon her. There was no testimony that my client had any knowledge of McNamee, any knowledge of the controlled buy, or anything like that. In fact, the testimony was they had nothing better to do after the controlled buy, so they were curious what she might do next. That was McNamee, so they followed her at that point. When they first see my client, she's an unknown female. She's exiting the Dollar General, having engaged in a lawful purchase. She's holding a Dollar General bag. She gets into a vehicle. Nothing is witnessed inside the vehicle. She could have been doing any number of things in that vehicle which would have been legal. She could have been doing something that was illegal, but they did not witness anything, not a hand-to-hand transaction, not a furtive movement, not anything which would give any indication that my client was involved in a drug transaction. I would refer the court to the fact that McNamee's initial transaction took 4 minutes. This meeting in this vehicle took 15 minutes. While certainly not an indication that something may not have happened in the vehicle, it's just more indicative that this was a meeting between two friends potentially, and certainly didn't even match what had taken place at the previous transaction, so as to be able to say that was a quick 4-minute transaction. This was a quick 4-minute this was a totally different circumstance, Your Honor. My client is then next seen getting out of the vehicle, holding the same legal dollar store bag that she purchased, or excuse me, Dollar General, that she purchased at the Dollar General, and gets into another vehicle. As the lieutenant testified, what happened inside that vehicle was a guess. It was a hunch. It may have been based on his training that he had a stronger suspicion than not of what may have happened in that vehicle. But that's not enough. It has to be based upon something that was witnessed, some actual fact involving my client that would give rise to a reasonable suspicion that she was involved in drug activity or illegal activity. Without that, there is no basis to stop the vehicle. So what happens next? The vehicle pulls off. Now, in this situation, a number of times we get testimony that that individual was followed for a number of minutes or seconds or whatever, and they witness a traffic infraction, and based on that, while writing the citation, drug dog comes out and all that stuff, which then allows them to search the vehicle later on. None of that happened here. This vehicle is immediately stopped, and they testified that that stop was for suspicion of drug activity. The vehicle pulls into a legal parking lot. We had cited some of the case law Gant and some of the case law involving Gant, although I would say that that requires a legal stop to even be in play. Here they just go right to searching the vehicle without any probable cause. There's no indication that anything my client did was illegal, yet they start searching her vehicle immediately. Your Honor, that could happen to any individual on the street. I could walk out of a store, get in my brother's car, and then all of a sudden, as I get out, I'm subject to being stopped and searched by police when I've been engaged in absolutely no misconduct, or they've witnessed me engaged in no misconduct whatsoever. Your Honor, it's laughable. It's exactly what the Fourth Amendment was designed to protect against: unreasonable searches and seizures. This is an unreasonable search and seizure. There's no reasonable suspicion to support the stop. There's no probable cause to search the vehicle. Warrants are required for searches. Under limited exceptions, searches can be conducted outside of the warrant requirement when there's probable cause, after reasonable suspicion. None of that happened here, Your Honor. This was an illegal search. From the time my client was stopped, everything that took place thereafter is required to be suppressed. Any statement, anything found, anything that took place in the jail or after arrest, based on this illegal stop, Your Honor, we thank you for the time this morning. We know that you'll consider everything carefully, and we await your decision. Thank you.
All right, I will take it under advisement, issue.